Welcome to episode 27 of Rebirth Revolution. My name is Melissa Olson. One of my missions here on Earth is to master radical self-acceptance. What does that mean? It means that I want to get to the place where I am perfectly fine with myself no matter what. Radical self-acceptance is not something you have because you are something. It's something to strive for even if you aren't something. The culture showers us with messages of all the things we need to have and to be so that we may feel complete and worthy. Sure, we could all drive ourselves insane trying to fit into all the boxes the culture tells us are necessary to earn value. But what fun would that be? I'm more interested in loving myself even if I'm not what they say I should be. Maybe I'm especially interested because I don't like people telling me what to do. They don't get to decide for me. I am the boss of me. You need to be the boss of you. Progress report. I am currently none of the things that the culture tells me that I need to be happy. And I'm the happiest I've been in my entire life. The culture tells you that to be happy, you must be young, thin, rich, beautiful, successful, and in love. I don't fit neatly into any of those categories, and I'm fine with it. In fact, I'm happier than I've ever been. Frankly, when I was young, I was an idiot. I didn't know what was going on, and it felt like there was a blender going full speed inside my brain most of the time. Because I was young and an idiot, I was a sitting duck for everyone who knew more than I did. I was too vulnerable to the world at large and carried the burden of wondering what my real life was going to be and exactly how I was going to go about getting it. When I was thin, I attracted attention from males of all ages that was usually not wanted. The groping and the grazing of hands that were attracted to my form came from friends, neighbors, strangers, and the clergy. It was horrifying. When I was thin, I was seen as a body, not a person. No one cared what I had to say or what I thought. I have been in love more than once, and that was lovely. But it can also be a source of insecurity. When you are in love, you are aware that the feeling of well-being you are enjoying is in large part in the hands of the person you are in love with. They can change their minds, change your mind, or die. It happens. If I ever get rich, beautiful, or successful, I'll let you know how that works out. What I can see from others who have achieved that is that they can make life easier, but they somehow separate people from others and give them the opportunity to bypass lessons that the rest of us get to move forward. They create a false sense of self for the person who could be described as rich, beautiful, or successful, making those descriptors the first thing they think about themselves. And they make others see them in that same enhanced light. This means these people should never, ever be sad or have problems that they say out loud. They are already universally loathed for having what others lack. And what exactly is success? Is it that you did the thing that was the biggest, the best, and the most popular? Or is it that you took on a challenge, worked to the best of your ability, and took away from it tools that will serve you in the next challenge you accept? The biggest, best, and most popular can only be achieved by one person until it's taken away by the next person who has the new, biggest, best, and most popular. The form of success that builds you for the next challenge can never be taken away by anyone. It is earned by your bravery and hard work, and it's now a part of you. That is true success. All of these life experiences are treated like they are solutions, when in fact They all just bring up different problems. Each has an artificial value attached, which is added into the sum total of who you are. Each and every one of them can be stripped away in a minute. Maybe the point of the back and forth of thinking that a condition makes you okay and then realizing that you are not okay because of the condition is what we need to endure to get to the real lesson. Attaching your sense of self and your enjoyment of life to any state that is, by nature, transitory can only result in heartbreak. If you are young, you can only hope that you get the opportunity to be old. But once you get there, will you lose your mind and do everything science allows to try to convince others that you are still young? Will you hate the older version of yourself to the point that you cannot find a way to value yourself any longer? If you are thin, it doesn't really mean that much about you. It just means that you self-soothe in a way that isn't food-related, or you have the good gut bacteria. Of course, thinness may be easy when you are young and have the metabolism of a hummingbird, but if you are lucky enough to get older, you're going to have to either decide to live a different way, one that means abstaining from food and exercising religiously, or you're going to have to give it up. That's just how this deal works. It's the never-ending balancing act of fun versus monastic discipline. We see rich people lose their money all the time. With their money goes their social life and status, along with the concern and regard of most of the people who are attracted to the illusion of their enhanced value. They will be of absolutely no use to that crowd now because no one is looking to hang out with a cautionary tale. No one wants to be reminded that it could happen to them, too. All of these temporary conditions are used by people to manufacture their identity, which is the self-perception that they have cobbled together and displayed to the world. Never underestimate the power of identity. Once you have decided who you think you are and how you want the world to perceive you, you will likely be willing to fight tooth and nail to maintain that illusion. When one of the pieces of your self-identity falls away, there is a true feeling of death. A part of you has died. That's why you defend it so ferociously. These battles we fight are the work we're here to do. They are the very uncomfortable, unsettling realities that help us grow to a deeper understanding. And since we live in a death-denying culture, we assume that the death of any part of us is a bad thing. It's not. It's usually necessary to move to the next stage. Let's take the power that comes with being young. When you are young, you don't have a bunch of wisdom or experience to fall back on, so you can sometimes use your youth, beauty, and enthusiastic energy to convince someone to give you a chance. But an attempt to fall back on coquettish charm when interviewing for a job when you're in your 50s, instead of leading with your wisdom and experience, will not be well received. Some of the attributes that the culture loves the most are merely the plaster that holds us together until we get to a place where we can rely on the attributes that really matter, like wisdom, integrity, gratitude, perspective. How do we know that those attributes are worth the most? It's because you cannot buy them with any amount of money. The traps you rely on need to die if you're going to reach what really matters. You will not have the ability to arrive at the junctures of growth and the revelations that will be granted unless you have been different ages, different sizes, had money, didn't have money, looked good, didn't look good, been in love, haven't been in love. The journey means you have to try out the different ways of being to prove to yourself that none of them factor into how you feel about yourself in any meaningful way. I'm not talking about the fleeting thoughts we have about ourselves. I'm not talking about looking in the mirror and liking what you see one day. Then, if you're stressed, you may not look as good the next. It's about realizing it has nothing to do with how you look. It's much deeper. There are young, thin, rich, beautiful people in this world who are the most miserable people imaginable. They're miserable because the love they have for themselves is surface deep and extremely conditional. The relationship they have with themselves, surface deep and conditional, draws to them traveling companions who feel the same way about them. No longer young? So long. No longer thin? Get lost. No longer rich? See ya. No longer what the culture thinks is beautiful? They'll find someone who is. Since our ultimate goal is to feel nothing but love and compassion for ourselves and others, it stands to reason that the lack of compassion and acceptance we feel for ourselves keeps us at a spiritual awareness grade level that also blocks our ability to feel compassion and acceptance for others. Both must be in play. You cannot truly have one without the other. If people are cruel to others, you can be sure that they are equally, if not more so, cruel to themselves. Fixing one fixes the other. Growing one will result in growing the other. The culture also supports the insidious message that we will feel differently about ourselves once we achieve something that they are trying to sell us. But that is a straight-up lie. It is the carrot they dangle in front of us to get us to run their race. You will not love yourself more if you have more money. You will not love yourself more if you are thinner or have more muscles or curves or whatever the thing is now. You will not love yourself more if you have fewer wrinkles. You will not love yourself more if someone else chooses you. You will not love yourself more if you have more hair, less hair, better eyebrows, flatter abs, a bigger or smaller butt. And boy, is that one a moving target. I've lived long enough to see body parts that were once supposed to be small reach a stage where now they must be big, and vice versa. It's almost like this one is designed to make you feel bad about yourself and send you out to buy the next thing they have to sell you. Anyone can love the shiny, brand new car on the car lot. Your goal is to love yourself, the as-is, perfect creation that you are. You came to the planet with issues to work on. Those appear as your challenges in life. You also came to the planet with skills and attributes. Those are the tools that you need to face the challenges in your life. No one came here with a challenge they cannot master, but understand that mastery comes in many different forms. The point of this challenge is not to make myself perfect enough so that I can justify loving myself. It's to love myself anyway. The culture, which I often bash, is both the poison and the cure. In terms of learning self-acceptance, we have been given great examples to move us in that direction. Let's take Michael Scott from The Office. Almost every choice he makes is wrong, or at least ill-advised, but it is so clear that all he wants is to be loved and accepted. It's not that he's a bad person at heart, it's that he is perfectly imperfect. When we watch and ultimately fall in love with a character like Michael, we are reminded that it is what's underneath that counts. If he truly was an evil guy, we wouldn't love him as we do. The fact that Steve Carell is a certifiable genius is beside the point. Look at Lizzo. Some who don't understand the mission she's on want to talk about her body. She is here using her considerable skills with music to teach everyone else to love themselves. She takes the love and joy that she brings to others and then serves as the mirror to shine it back on the audience. It is some high-level stuff. But those who have not yet mastered radical self-acceptance, those who still believe that your value comes from how thin you are incapable of receiving what she is sending out. But the people who claim that she needs to change her body to achieve health and happiness are neither healthy nor happy people themselves. The flip side of this coin is that in our culture, we grant value to people who have money, fame, or some sort of success. We assume that they need to be made of greater stuff to have achieved what they have achieved. But the correlation there is tricky. In fact, they may be where they are because they are at a lower level where they aren't yet bothered by things like empathy, integrity, or grace. We give acceptance to many who have not earned it, and they either misuse it or hit an existential brick wall when it becomes clear that they are nothing like what others think they are. They are not happy. They do not love themselves. They do not have it all figured out. Then they act out in self-destructive ways, leaving everyone else to wonder why they did that, since they had everything that is supposed to make you happy and complete. The rebirth revolution will require that we all put ourselves and others under a loving microscope to truly try to understand what the actual source of our self-acceptance is, what will truly make us feel a deeper form of self-love and love for others that is not based on the external, the temporary. If our love of self is because we are young and everything about our body is in mint condition, are we automatically unlovable if we are lucky enough to get older? If our love of self is because we are thin, are we unworthy of love if for any reason we get bigger? If our love of self is because we are rich and the stock market crashes, are we now of no value? If our love of self is because we are what society deems to be successful, what are we when our business closes? If our love of self is because someone else chose to love us, are we worthless when they decide to love someone else instead? Every one of these prerequisites is either destined to be eliminated over time or is completely outside of our control. The very worst being the conditions, like being in love, that hinge on what could be fleeting feelings that belong to another person. Your peace and well-being cannot be in the hands of someone else. If they are, you cannot engage in a truly healthy relationship because you're too frightened that they will use their free will to leave you. Loving yourself means building a base from which you can go through all of life's experiences, both fun and challenging, and emerge on the other side a wiser, more loving, and compassionate person. When you are truly able to say to and about yourself, I am good enough for me, I matter to me, and I am deeply loved by me, no matter what, then you are in the greatest power position of all. When you do not need those affirmed by others, you can get right down to the parts of your interactions that matter without bringing to them desperation and unfilled neediness. Because that's the thing. No one else can grant you esteem or value for being young, thin, rich, successful, or in love, because those do not comprise the true foundation of self-love. They are temporary conditions, and those who love you for those reasons will not be willing to stick with you when those temporary conditions change, as they must. Achieving unshakable self-love and self-acceptance is right up there with the spiritual master's desire to feel nothing but love and compassion for yourself and others. It's never a finish line that you will cross, as much as it is a North Star that will guide the direction your journey must go to achieve your desired outcome. It's an aspiration that has massive payoffs, even when we only move an inch further in that direction. Move just 1 inch in that direction. Thanks to those of you all around the globe who listen to Rebirth Revolution. Hopefully you know some people who this might interest. Any help you could give me in getting the word out would be so greatly appreciated. If you go to rebirthrevolution.com, you will find the links to our social media accounts. I post episodes and clips of episodes on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Plus, you can find us on YouTube. Until next week, stay open, act with integrity, trust your intuition, and write down some things you like about yourself that do not relate to your age, looks, or bank account. Write down the really good stuff. Remember, you are loved exactly as much as every other person on the planet, not 1 ounce more or 1 ounce less. Find peace this week.